You look tired, sir. The cabin lights of Flight 447 cast a warm, golden glow across the first-class section. Outside the windows, the evening sky stretched endlessly, painted in shades of deep purple and fading orange. Marcus Sullivan settled into seat 2A, loosening his silk tie with practiced efficiency. His briefcase clicked open beside him, revealing stacks of documents that demanded his attention before landing in Singapore. Marcus was 42 years old, though lately he felt much older. As CEO of Sullivan and Hayes International, he carried the weight of 12,000 employees on his shoulders. His calendar was a relentless march of meetings, negotiations, and crisis management. Sleep had become a luxury he could barely afford, and genuine human connection felt like a distant memory from another lifetime. The flight attendant offered him champagne. He accepted with a nod, not quite meeting her eyes. Small talk exhausted him more than board meetings. He pulled out his laptop, ready to disappear into spreadsheets and quarterly projections for the next 14 hours. That's when he heard the small voice. "Excuse me, sir." Marcus looked up, startled. A little girl stood in the aisle beside his seat. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old, with strawberry blonde hair pulled into a slightly crooked ponytail. She wore a pink dress with tiny flowers, and a bright green backpack hung from her small shoulders. Her blue eyes studied him with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. "Yes," Marcus said, his tone sharper than he intended. "You look tired, sir," the little girl said simply. There was no judgment in her voice, only gentle observation. Marcus blinked. Of all the things he'd expected to hear on this flight, that certainly wasn't one of them. He glanced past her, looking for a parent or guardian. A woman 2 rows back gave him an apologetic smile, clearly the child's mother. "I'm fine," Marcus replied automatically. "Shouldn't you be in your seat? We're about to take off." The little girl didn't move. She tilted her head slightly, like a curious bird. "My name is Emma. What's yours?" "Marcus." He sighed, closing his laptop slightly. "Shouldn't your mother be?" "She's right there," Emma interrupted, pointing behind her. "She said I could say hello since you're sitting alone. She says nobody should be alone if they don't want to be." Something in Marcus's chest tightened unexpectedly. He hadn't realized how true that statement was until this strange little girl said it out loud. "Well, I'm actually quite busy, Emma. I have a lot of work to do." Emma considered this seriously. "Work is important," she agreed. "But so is resting. My mommy says that's why they make airplane seats so comfy. So people can rest." Marcus found himself almost smiling. "Almost. Is that so?" "Yes, sir. You really do look very tired. Your eyes have dark circles. Like a raccoon, but sadder." This time Marcus did smile, just a little. The flight attendant announced that all passengers should return to their seats for departure. Emma's mother called softly, "Emma, sweetheart, come back now." "Okay, mommy." Emma turned back to Marcus. "I hope you feel better, Mr. Marcus. Maybe you could try closing your eyes for a little while. Sometimes that helps." She scampered back to her seat, leaving Marcus staring after her. A raccoon, but sadder. He caught his reflection in the darkened window. She wasn't wrong. When had he last looked at himself, really looked, and seen anything other than exhaustion? The plane began its taxi down the runway. Marcus opened his laptop again, determined to focus. But Emma's words echoed in his mind. "You look tired, sir." Such simple observation from a child, yet it had cut through all his carefully constructed walls more effectively than any concerned colleague or well-meaning friend had managed in years. He worked for an hour, maybe 2. The numbers on the screen began to blur. His eyes burned. Around him, the cabin had grown quiet as passengers settled in for the long flight. Many were already asleep, heads tilted on pillows, faces peaceful. Marcus saved his documents and slowly closed the laptop. He reclined his seat, accepting a blanket from the flight attendant. Through the gap between seats, he could just see Emma 2 rows back. She was coloring in a book, her small tongue poking out in concentration. Her mother sat beside her, reading quietly. They looked content, present, together. When had Marcus last felt content? When had he last truly been present, rather than mentally racing ahead to the next crisis, the next deadline, the next mountain to climb? He closed his eyes, not expecting to sleep. But the gentle hum of the engines wrapped around him like a lullaby. The tension in his shoulders began to ease. For the first time in months, he let himself simply exist without purpose, without agenda, without the crushing need to be productive every single moment. Marcus slept. He woke 6 hours later to the sound of breakfast service. Sunlight streamed through the windows, bright and clean. For a moment, he felt disoriented, not anxious or stressed, just peacefully uncertain of where he was. Then memory returned, and with it, something unexpected, a sense of rest he hadn't experienced in years. He sat up slowly, rolling his shoulders. The tightness in his neck had lessened. His mind felt clearer, quieter. He looked around the cabin with new eyes, noticing details he'd been too exhausted to see before. The way morning light caught the curve of the windows. The soft murmur of conversations beginning. The simple humanity of people sharing this journey together. Emma appeared in the aisle again, this time holding a piece of paper. Her mother followed, looking apologetic. "I'm so sorry," the woman said. "She insisted on giving this to you." Emma thrust the paper toward Marcus. It was a crayon drawing, a stick figure man sitting on an airplane, surrounded by stars and hearts. A crooked smile had been added to his face. That's you, Emma explained. But happy, because you slept and now you're not a sad raccoon anymore. Marcus took the drawing with unexpected tenderness. His throat felt tight. Thank you, Emma. This is really wonderful. You're welcome, Mr. Marcus. Emma beamed at him. Will you smile more now? Marcus looked at this small, wise child who had somehow seen through him in an instant. Who had offered kindness without expecting anything in return. Who had reminded him that rest wasn't weakness, and that being human mattered more than being productive. Yes, he said quietly. I think I will. As Emma and her mother returned to their seats, Marcus carefully folded the drawing and placed it in his briefcase. When he opened his laptop again, he didn't immediately dive into work. Instead, he opened his calendar. He blocked off time, real time, for rest. For lunch with old friends. For walks without his phone. For simply being, not just doing. The plane began its descent toward Singapore. Below, the city sparkled in the morning light, full of possibility. Marcus looked out the window and realized something profound. Success meant nothing if you were too exhausted to enjoy it. A little girl had changed his perspective in a single, honest moment. And Marcus Sullivan, CEO of a multinational corporation, had finally learned what truly mattered. He was tired, but now, he would rest.